What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got some tractor parts in finally. I've just opened the box here. As you can see, I hadn't took anything out, just busted the seal open on it. And I went by my dad's house and borrowed his slide hammer here with a pilot bearing pulling tool on the end of it here. I don't know how this thing got broke like that. No telling what he was doing, but anyway, this sticks up in the pilot bearing, and you tighten it up, it spreads out, you snatch it out. Usually works pretty well. That's one of the easiest ways to get a pilot bearing out that I found. There is other ways to do it, but that method there usually works pretty good. So I went by and got that, and so let's see here what we got. This is a hood latch cable, and I didn't have to have this, but it was 25 bucks, and the one that's on there has got a crack spot in the insulation, and it's like kinked a little bit, and the knob's missing off the end of it. And so I just went ahead and ordered the other one. I ordered a new one so I didn't have to grab the end of the cable with pliers and all that good stuff like I had to do. And let's see here what the next thing is we got. Let me set you guys up on a tripod over and make this a little easier. Alright guys, got you setting up on the tripod over there and make this a little bit easier for me and less shaky for you. Let's see here. What is this? This is the PTO clutch disc. There's just not much lining on those discs from the factory, doesn't it look like? I'm going to put a mic on that and check the thickness of this. There's just not a lot there by looking at it, like what I figured it would be. But anyway, we'll check that out in a little bit for future reference. This is just packing material. Mahindra is pretty proud of those clutch discs right there. I could have got a remanufactured one, a whole lot cheaper, but I would have to sent my cores off to be remanufactured because they didn't have cores in stock. So that's the reason I didn't go that route. I didn't want to wait the shipping time, but it would have been a lot cheaper because it was, they wanted, I think I figured it would have cost me like $400 to have it remanufactured for both discs, and Mahindra, I paid $1,100 and something for both discs. So yeah, now the actual clutch disc does have quite a bit more lining on it, so that's a good thing. I was a little worried about that. So it cost me an extra $750-ish to order a new OEM clutch assembly. Let me grab the other one over here. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like compared to this. Alright, so here's the old one, and here's the new one. I don't know if you can get the difference in the thickness on that. I'm going to put a mic on it and see what it is and check the distance to the rivets also. But you can see that one is on the rivets. But yeah, I really hated to spend an extra $700 something for the exact same part. If you figure the first clutch lasted 1,600 hours, and I'm sure it was wore out for 100 to 2 hours before that, but that's a decent amount of hours there. This is my bracket for my other LED light I told you guys about that I was getting. So yeah, that's a decent amount of hours. And I don't use a tractor that much, probably 50 to 100 hours a year. So in theory, that would last me like 10 to 15 years. So paying extra $700 for something over the life of 10 to 15 years is probably not the end of the world. All things considered, when you look at what we pay for interest and stuff on loans, like people go sign up, you know, for a car loan, whatnot, for 4, 5, 6% interest, whatever. Some of them a lot more than that. And you look at what you pay. You buy a $40,000 or $50,000 car, you wind up paying $5,000 or $6,000 in interest, and that's over like 5 or 6 years. So when you look at that, you know, paying an extra $700 doesn't really seem that bad. This is the pressure plate, clutch pressure plate. The other one had quite a bit of wear in it. So went ahead and purchased a new one. It goes in there if that's for the drive clutch. So yeah, all total, I think it's well over $1,700 worth of parts in this box right here. I ordered a new bearing for the center support bearing for the drive shaft there. A new one of them. The other one didn't feel that great, and it does turn all the time. The four-wheel drive is just disconnected in the transfer case. There's a pilot bearing right there. We'll need that shortly. I want to check out these new sleeves that I ordered for the drive shaft. I think I've got a plan for that. I ordered these new sleeves here, spline sleeves for the drive shaft, you know, one that's stripped that I showed you guys in the previous video. There's two different ones. This one is for the drop box end or transfer case end, whatever you want to call it, the rear. It's a different spline than the front one. But the way these work is you got your drive shaft and you slide your sleeve on each end and slide it together. Put your drive shaft in there, and then you push your sleeves over and drive the roll pin right there in it, and it keeps it in there. But they didn't put grease in there from the factory evidently, or either they did and it got rinsed out or whatever over time. Again, this tractor is not but 6 years old, so who knows. But anyway, my plan is, I got this one off the ran wrapped up here. This is the one that's actually stripped here. Get all the dirt saran wrap off of it. But yeah, my plan is to drill a hole. I'm going to try to drill a hole through the shaft and put a grade A bolt in it. I don't know how hard or how easy that might be to do, because it is hardened, but I do have some Cobalt drill bits over there. Not Cobalt brand. Cobalt is in hardened drill bits for drilling hardened metal. So yeah, it's the same sort of deal. You see the splines in there and the roll pin through the center. And so what I'm thinking I can do is, I've read, and you can get, or you can drill up to 1/3 the diameter of the shaft. And after you go over 1/3 the diameter of the shaft, the chance of the shaft breaking at the hole where it's drilled through is more so than the actual bolt breaking. There is still a little bit of splines on that shaft up under there. Not much, but there's a little bit. But these being new splines, maybe to catch some. And what I want to do is drill another hole here, and I'll probably offset it from that one straight through the center here, just like that one's done. A 3/8 hole going straight through the center of the pinion shaft, and then put a grade 8 bolt in it. I looked at putting roll pins in there, and by the charts everybody says they're stronger, but there's an awful lot of people replacing roll pins with bolts because the roll pins break. So I'm not sure why that is. I know the roll pin holds spring tension and everything on it, and a bolt doesn't, but like I say, the spline should still hold some, and they actually use that method on the older bush hogs. I don't know about the new one, but my dad's got one that has got a 1/2 inch bolt. I think it's about 1 1/2 inch and 3/8 inch 5/8 shaft coming out, and it's got a 1/2 inch bolt going through. It's supposed to be like a shear pin, like a grade 2, It got swapped out to a grade 8 because we kept breaking the stupid thing. And that cured that problem until we twisted the PTO shaft in two. Never broke the gearbox though, so that was good. Go ahead and take a look at that bracket for the light. And what else do we got here? This is a pilot bearing I picked up earlier. I want to go ahead and replace that. Did not replace or did not order a throwout bearing because it felt okay, and the thing's like $700 from Mahindra. I'm sure you can get one cheaper somewhere, but that's what Mahindra wanted for one. And a lot of this stuff you pay extra for just because it is what it is. I went ahead and ordered the nuts for this light bracket right here and the bolts for it. Definitely could have got those cheaper somewhere. But I wanted it to be the right metric bolts, and that was like $5 for the bolts. Not a big deal. The price of $1,700 box of parts, the extra $5 is not going to matter. We have a neutral safety switch. That was a problem. The tractor wouldn't crank, had to jump the solenoid. Hopefully that'll fix that. And an oil pressure switch for the transmission. It's leaking hydraulic fluid out of it, as well as the lever, the shuttle shift lever that had the slack in it, forwards and backwards. I ordered a new little lever, and what this does is it goes on the transmission shaft here. The transmission shaft is there. It goes on there, and it's got a roll pin that sticks through here, and there's a bolt head that goes right in the side of the transmission right here. So what they did, the roll pin broke, and so they put a bolt in here, and the bolt had like a rounded Allen head on it, and was a smaller diameter than this, so that made this slop around a whole lot before it actually moved the transmission shaft. So that made your shuttle shift lever have like 9 miles of slack in it. So it egg-shaped the holes on this old lever on there. And so I just ordered a new lever. It wasn't but like $10. I could have probably made one, but for $10, I'm not wasting my time to try to find metal and drill the holes and do all that for $10. So some of the parts are not really that bad. I ordered the roll pins for it too somewhere. I don't know where they're at here. There's a couple roll pins. I think there's for the drop box and the sleeve or whatever. And that must be the one for the other one. I went ahead and ordered them. They were in the parts diagram. They're metric roll pins. But anyway, I think that about sums up everything that I had ordered there. You don't get a whole lot for $1,700 plus these days. So I'm going to get put a micrometer on that and check those clutch discs out. There's one more thing that should be in here that I have not seen. That I may not have. And that is, there it is right there. Okay, it was in there with the cable. That ring, that little ring right there goes on the back of that pressure plate assembly. And it's like a snap ring. And I just ordered another one. It wasn't but like $6 or something. I could take the old one out. They call it a fulcrum ring. Could take the old one out of the other pressure plate. Figured time I got the prying on it with a screwdriver, I'd probably spring it, and it might not hold in there right or something. So for $6, I just ordered another one. And so anyway, let me get over here and I'm gonna get the mic out. We're gonna mic this and see what the difference in thickness is on that clutch disc. All right, guys. So I put the old micrometer on these things and I checked them. And the flywheel, I mean not the flywheel, but the PTO clutch here. Actually, this is a new one. The old one's right there. It has very little wear in comparison to the new one. I thought that the thing was wore out because it's almost on the rivets. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but there's just not much pad material there between the pad and the rivet. And actually on some of them it's like 12 thousandths or 15 thousandths. I mean, it's very little. And so I thought when I looked at that one there that it was wore out, but I was trying to figure out how, because this thing was used as a cotton gin, and I was like, what do they use the PTO, the cotton gin? It was mainly used for a loader tractor to push up the gin trash and whatnot. So I could see the drive plate being wore out, which it very much was. There is over 100 thousandths difference in this one. I think 105 is about what I was coming up with. And you can see how much deeper those pockets is between the pad and the rivets there. And the other one is actually on the rivets. So it's completely wore out. So I could have got away without buying this right here. And I think this one disc right here was like 450 bucks or something. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there just because I've already got it. I don't want to send it back. And I know it'll have a brand new one in there. I will hold on to that one. Now, if I would have sent the old one off there to be remanufactured and had new pads on it and got it back, I'd have been like, why is it like almost the same? Because I checked it, and there's probably only about 7 thousandths wear in the thickness. Took a mic and went across here, and I'm only getting about 7 thousandths difference in this new one and that one, which 7 thousandths is not very much at all. So I feel like you know, it was still working well, but I didn't know that, and I didn't have a load to hook on the PTO to test it. So while I got it apart, I went ahead, got both clutch discs, or I was going to have both of them remanufactured, but as I say, they did not have the cords. I was going to get them to ship me the remanufactured ones, ship them back to them, and then the guy called and said they didn't have the cords to do that, and I had shipped them to them, which would have took probably almost a week. He had to fix them and then ship them back to me, so would have took a lot longer than what this is. And I would not have known what exactly I was getting, because as I say, I thought that the new PTO clutch had more material than that on it, but it does not. So this is kind of a educational thing, and I'm paying the price of educating you guys by buying extra parts that I don't need. So not only did I spend $700 more for these two clutch discs than I could have gotten remanufactured ones, I actually only needed one of them. So if I could have got a remanufactured one, just the drive disc would have cost me like 200 bucks, and I spent 1,100 bucks. So it's actually $900 more if you look at it that way. But anyway, as I say, it's educational, and we are getting some experience here on this Mahindra for sure. And we are getting some new parts in there as well. So I should not have to worry about this for a long time. I, however, am going to save those right there and put them on the shelf, and if there is a need in the future, I will get that drive disc remanufactured now that I have something to compare it to. And see, other thing I didn't know was like what type of material, because I couldn't get anybody to answer the doggone phone, and I wanted to ask what kind of pad material, if they were using the OEM ceramic pad material, or if there's something better, or if they're just using something from China. You know, that's another thing I didn't know, and I didn't want to, you know, cheap out and have to split this thing again right off. So I just forked up the money and did it this way. I still hate wasting money like that, but I guess it is what it is at this point. Anyway, I will probably keep those. The PTO clutch could be put back in now that I've mic'd it and see that the clearance, what the clearance is. The PTO clutch, I would not hesitate to put that back in there. You know, if I needed it. But I'm pretty good at not having the engine revved up when I engage the PTO and whatnot, so there'll be very little wear on that. But I am going to hold on to that, and I will probably have the drive disc remanufactured, and if I ever need to put a clutch in it, I'll already have a setup to go back in there. So that's worth something as well, to have a second a set of cores there that you can send off when you see the clutch is getting wore down. Instead of having your tractor split in pieces for 3 weeks, you can go ahead and send your core set off, have them remanufactured, shipped back to you, and then split it and swap it out in a weekend or something. So, you know, there's all kind of options and whatnot. This is just how mine turned out to be, whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise. So I'm going to get this pilot bearing pulling slide hammer tool over here, and we're going to see if we can get that little guy there out of there. Hopefully it'll come out. It's got some rough spots in it there, so I'm gonna go ahead and snatch that out of there and get another one, get the other one put back in there. Hopefully I'm gonna have to pull the flywheel to do that because it's drove in the crankshaft, looks like. And then we got to clean all this up and figure out how to put that back together, because I have no book and I have no clue. So that should be interesting. Hopefully we have enough room to get in between here. Snatch this pilot bearing out there. I already got the flywheel off. Just do that way. Stick this in here. Screw this in. It spreads the jaws out in there like so. And right out of there. That's the fastest, quickest way I know to pull one out. You can do it with grease and a few other ways too, but that right there usually will do the trick more times than not. So I'm going to go find me a fancy socket or something that'll fit around the outside of this, and a hammer. We'll put the new one in.